for the Get to the Point review.
Well, welcome everybody to the Get to the Point review podcast. I am your host, Kelly McKinney of Hohenheim Productions.
And I'm your other host, Josh Gibson from Fourth Wall Players.
And this week we are joined by guest Derek Kunzman, who's an actor, director of photography, and stunt performer. And he was recommended to us through our good friend Emmanuel Carter. And how are you doing today, Derek?
Pretty fantastic. You know, it's a nice day outside, and just been enjoying being able to get some stuff done. You know, been productive today.
Right, and we're all in Indiana here in this particular one, so we know that we're past the spring of deception. I think,
Maybe.
Right? Yes.
We'll have like a June blizzard.
It's snowing next week. Yeah, of course. No, that would figure. Now, when I first met Emmanuel Carter, me and him were talking about another project that apparently you two have in common: Power Rangers Zenith. Yes, it was, and you were part of that.
Yes.
What role did you play in that? And was that a fan film?
It was a fan film. But a funny story how I got involved with that. I was working on a project called Ezekiel's Landing with Ransom Pugh. Mm-hmm. He played the Red Ranger, and I think we had finished shooting that night, or it was a night shoot. I think we were getting into makeup, and Ransom and I had met on this project, and he was telling me about something about a Power Ranger project, and he's playing the Red Ranger, and Ransom and I were like, we knew each other just from the few times we had worked together on Ezekiel's Landing, and I took my chair, and I got so in his bubble, and I was like, Ransom, I need to be in this project. I was like, I'll do anything. And he talked to Emmanuel, and I got a message from E-Man giving me some sides for an audition, and I met up with him and a few others while they were filming another film downtown Indy, and I did the audition there, and he added Tommy to the script and ended up getting to play, the Green Ranger, which is like my dream.
Yes.
Role,
I saw the helmet set up on your story on Instagram and Facebook. Yeah. He's got it right back there. Oh, it's right back there.
Oh, there it is.
It wasn't so green in the lighting, so I didn't quite notice it.
No, we just saw it. That is awesome. And so, Ransom, Ezekiel's Landing, was that a Dan Hall project?
That was James Treacle.
James Treacle. Okay, yeah.
And Bobby Dally shot that.
Gotcha. Yeah.
It was like a sci-fi alien drama thriller.
Right.
Awesome.
Right. Yep. Yeah. Ransom, another very talented actor. We have a lot of great talent here in Indiana.
Yeah.
We really do. It's amazing. And so now, when we also did the guest spotlight article, which of course you all can find on the Get to the Point review website, plug. All right. We mentioned that you have Fourth Law Studios, which is interesting because if you don't recall the opening, Josh has Fourth Wall.
We've known each other for 20 years.
Yes. You know what? I don't know why. I was mixing your name with George. Just go with it. Yeah. So not Fourth Wall, but Fourth Law Studios.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, man. I'll try to nutshell this as much as possible. But a friend of mine and I, when we were teaching parkour classes for the team we were on at Purdue, met some super inspirational people at a jam we went to. And a lot of these guys were like, their skill level, like they could have been professional paid athletes, but they just wanted to do it as their hobby. And then there were some that actually were, pros getting paid for it. And we would often have very deep conversations with a 6-pack of beer. At the end of the night, we were roommates, and we were just discussing that thing inside of everybody that just makes you pursue your passions in your own way, like whether you just want it as a release when you get home from work, or if it's something you can't not be doing all day, and we called that internal motion that lives inside everybody, the fourth law of motion.
Gotcha.
Okay.
In addition to Isaac Newton's 3 laws. So.
Gotcha. And this is a video production company?
Yeah. It's just me right now. I'm a one-man band. I'll hire out some editors, or if you need to hire a gaffer or anything like that, I'll do that too. But I do promo videos for businesses, and I shoot some videos for the Westfield Chamber of Commerce. I've helping out with the new Barbara Batman fan film.
Oh yeah, with Brian Boyles, is that it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, you're very talented.
Yeah, super awesome dude. Him and I just met right when they finished the script, and he brought me on to. I'm going to be a camera op for some of the scenes that when Brandon Benz is acting.
Right.
He's going to be the DP, but I'll be filming when he's acting, and I'll be doing some stunts. And if they raise enough money with the GoFundMe, IndieGoGo.
IndieGoGo. Yep.
Yeah, IndieGoGo. I might get to make an appearance as a character.
Oh,
nice.
Yes. So
Nice.
I'm crossing my fingers that they do get that budget.
yeah.
And following the podcast, make sure you drop the link for that IndieGoGo so we can include it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be. They have a super talented cast on this one. There's a lot of characters in it.
And their first one was super successful, right?
Yeah.
Their first short film was last year,
Mm-hmm.
right? And was it 2019 or 2020? I can't remember.
I think it was 2019 because
I think they had finished in 2019 before,
yeah.
and that one was excellent. So I know that just pulling off the momentum, we should be looking at a successful IndieGoGo campaign, right? So
yeah, absolutely, man. I'm hoping so. And it's kind of the IndieGoGo or just crowdfunding campaign is it's such a roller coaster because you see so much right away.
Yeah.
And it plateaus pretty quick.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden it's like the last week, there's just another huge jump.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah. That's part of learning the whole crowdfunding. It's always, campaigns are always like that. Every single one of them.
Yeah.
They all peel out differently too. Every campaign I've had, 3 in history. One of those have been successful. Where it was just like it raised enough where we were able to do the project. That's for sure.
Right. Well, that's awesome, man.
That is awesome.
That's a win.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and it's also fitting that you were in Power Rangers Zenith because this week we are talking about kids shows with a deeper meaning. And as we usually do, we start out with a review over a recent movie that this time our guest has seen and the hosts have not. This is going to be awesome.
I've seen enough.
I did see. Now we did see a 10-minute preview of the first 10 minutes of the film. That's what we were able to see. But it's going to be over Tom and Jerry 2021. And seeing as how you are the more informed party here, Derek, I'd love it if you kick us off with your get to the point review on Tom and Jerry.
Yeah. Okay. Tom and Jerry 2021. Just watch the trailer.
Just watch
and then watch the old cartoons, and then that can be your movie. Yeah.
There you go. All right.
Yeah.
Not too far off from my get to the point review. Even with just the 10 minutes, I still said, why?
Yeah.
When the shorts are so wonderfully put together to throw a human element in there just to tie a bunch of little shorts together, essentially is what we did. And I kept scratching my head because that's the girl from Kick-Ass who said didn't want to do a third one because she didn't like the way number 2 was filmed. Yes, she went and did this movie. So what is it? Do you want the money or don't you? Are we picky about projects? Aren't we? No one likes a fence sitter, right? Kind of thing. And Josh?
Yes, my get to the point review on the Tom and Jerry 10 minutes that I watched was Chloe Grace Moretz must have needed a paycheck. I now have nightmares about those hip hop pigeons in the beginning.
So those pigeons.
Yeah.
It's like, you know how like some of the best movies, no matter how complicated the plot, like if you don't treat your audience like they're stupid, the movie's good. But if you treat them like they are, that's what the pigeons were for.
Yeah.
Like the production was like, well, we're kind of blowing this. Let's make sure they're up to speed.
I thought it was really strange they decided to make all of the animals in the Tom and Jerry style. Right? But the other ones could still talk. The Tom and Jerry couldn't.
Yeah, and we discussed this briefly before the show that what's the Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, for some reason, cartoons mixed in with live action in older movies just look so much better. But as soon as you put them into high def,
Yeah.
It's very interesting what high def does to your threshold for holding on to the illusion.
That being said, I do think if they had just taken like animation from older Tom and Jerry shorts and just imposed those over the film, that still would have looked better.
That's what I'm saying.
I think some of it is the like computer 2-dimension. I don't want is it 2-dimensional? Is it 3-dimensional? I don't know. Right. It looks like cardboard cutouts put in front of people.
Yeah, it's like they gave it that same 2D. I appreciated how they kept them like true to the cartoons. You know, they didn't try to like modernize them or like that. But they put like a slight 3D effect on them.
Yeah, it was.
And then they were just like more HD than the actual people.
Yeah.
So there was like some decent separation there, you know? Didn't blend that well.
Not at all.
Right. And again, in just the 10 minutes I saw, I had to stop a few times and say, don't you pay background extras not to say lines? Because just in that park scene, I was like, I couldn't tell if it was the delivery of the line or the writing of the line itself, where like the girl's like, I'm more impressed by I don't know what I thought I'd seen it all, and now I can see this dancing mouse. I'm like, not a real thought. Not a real thought.
And it's like, it's a kid's show, you know. It's supposed to be a kid's movie, and the whole thing, like Chloe Grace Moretz, like she kind of steals this lady's identity at the beginning. Oh, not really steals her identity, but steals her resume.
Yeah.
Job, and it's kind of like the bad guy in it, sort of, or just there's never really like a turnaround from that almost to bring in like a nice sunny kids message, you know?
Right.
Yeah. You want to have something to like about the main character for them to have redeeming qualities at the end.
Yeah, yeah.
They never give us anything to like about it other than I recognize her from other movies.
Right.
Yeah.
And like I said, they maybe got better, but I felt like a lot of the live actor performances were just really flat. Like they didn't bring their A game.
Yeah.
And
are they not using tennis balls on set? I wonder, is that the issue?
Oh yeah. I don't know. I didn't. That'll be interesting to look to see how they did the behind the scenes.
Right.
Tennis ball gives you a lot to feed off.
It looked like they had no idea where the Tom and Jerry characters were supposed to be.
Yeah.
Tom and Jerry weren't even in it that much.
Yeah.
I know, right?
You know, like I would have rather just watched a mashup of all the old cartoons or just remaster new ones. You know,
Right.
Yeah.
Which, coincidentally enough, the review that we are reviewing by Matt Fowler with IGN basically says the exact same thing.
Right.
I can agree with his every point. And I only watched a 10-minute preview.
Yeah.
So
and even in that 10 minutes, they weren't even in half of that, I don't think.
No, they weren't. It was
it's like 3 minutes for those pigeons. Oh,
yes,
sorry.
It was.
We're supposed to censor ourselves on this episode.
Pigeons,
those darn pigeons. Pesky pigeons. Yeah. And did you have anything different to say about the review?
I do have I don't know if it's different. Yes. So my get to the point review on Matt Fowler's review is my man did some real mental gymnastics to try to, give this movie a positive review, and still ended up pointing out some of its many flaws. He did try, though. He did try.
He tried to make it his
He earned that paycheck.
Right.
I'll tell you that.
Well, and seeing as how our recent movie let most of us down, we can bring the level up.
Let's bring it back up. Let's bring positivity back up, guys.
Get right into kids shows with a deeper meaning, which should be built from a list. We should each have 5 lists. 5 lists, 5 whole lists, 5 choices. Kids shows with a deeper meaning.
It was like 5 lists.
Hopefully, 5 lists. Are you serious?
I'm woefully underprepared.
Yeah, woefully. But hopefully this should bring us up, because I know that everything on my list is basically a favorite show from my childhood.
Yeah.
And it's interesting though too when I take a look at this, they are all older shows. And I don't know if it's maybe I'm just not watching enough
No,
kids shows nowadays, but are they afraid to touch on these deeper meaning,
no, they're
hard hitting topics?
It sounds
They're
good.
afraid to be controversial, right? And why don't we start by asking Derek? You want to start us off with number one and give us an example?
Yeah. So I was going to go with one of the older ones, but you had already done that, and you said you weren't sure about the newer cartoons.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say Adventure Time.
Okay.
Have you guys ever watched Adventure Time?
Yes, I am. I'm familiar with Adventure Time.
Love Adventure Time. But there was, I wrote down on my phone a bunch of quotes from that show. But there was an episode called the Enchiridion, and it's hilarious because he has to go through these trials to get this Enchiridion book to be a hero sort of thing, and he has to go through these trials and fighting these bad guys. And at the very last one, the very last trial is this ant, and the guy's like, there's like this guardian spirit thing of the Enchiridion, and he's like, you must slay this ant. And Finn's like, is it evil? And he's like, well, no. Not really good either, I guess. More of a neutral ant. And Finn's like, then no. And he has like a good spirit and a good heart about him, but he wants to be a good hero. And
right, that's funny.
That was a pretty silly example, but there's a lot.
It's great though. The contrast there.
Yeah.
It's kind of like Avatar: The Last Airbender, but with a more comical take to it rather than serious.
Oh, dude, the comedy in Adventure Time is amazing.
It really is.
But let's see. There's like basic ones that I found from Adventure Time, like homies help homies always, like for something like that. To sucking at something is the first step towards being sort of good at something.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's a good message.
Yeah, absolutely good. Yeah, and these are positive, reaffirming. It's like I won't kill an ant unless it's an evil ant.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Then you have to think about the philosophical. It's like what would constitute an evil ant? And by the time you think about it, it's probably gone. So
right. So, but yeah, Adventure Time was an awesome show that just was like really promotes like positivity and like coming out on top of stuff, just like I was gonna go with Power Rangers too, like fighting through no matter how down you get,
Yeah, that was one that definitely was like keep going, don't give up. That was like I just recently started rewatching Power Rangers from the beginning with my boys, and man, I had forgotten that right from the go they're like, we need like bad teenagers. That's what we need. We're gonna reform these kids. We need bad teenagers. And then I forgot how campy it was how they tried to establish that they were bad teenagers. I was like, these are still goody two shoes. They're still very, very 90s.
Very 90s Hollywood idea of what bad teenager was.
Yeah, they played it safe there a few times.
Teenagers with attitude.
Yeah.
The teenagers with attitude is exactly what they said. That's a direct quote. Wow. Should have played Zordon.
Rangers. Anyway.
Josh, what a
okay, I'm just gonna go down. I don't really have a specific order, but my first get to the point review is season 2 of Digimon with the second cast, so series 2, I suppose. Grieving Ken deals with the loss of his brother by imprisoning/enslaving the sentient creatures known as Digimon. In the crest of kindness, the Digidestined are forced to run an intervention to help Ken understand the ramifications of creating a Frankenstein-type Digimon. It's pretty adult-oriented.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay. Wow. So they basically stuck it to like cloning and genetic engineering and Digimon.
Yeah, literally, he took like pieces. He like replicated pieces of all of like the first series kids Digimon and like kind of pasted them together, like some weird Photoshop thing.
And it didn't just turn out to be Mewtwo?
No, he just called it Chimeramon.
Oh, Chimeramon. Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Okay. That makes a lot of sense.
Should have called it Frankenmon.
Indeed. Wow. Yeah, and Digimon. I was a Pokemon kid. I didn't actually ever watch Digimon, so
No.
that's.
I literally am watching that with my son right now, and I watched that like 2 days ago.
There we go.
Love Digimon.
Okay. Well, let's see. I didn't end up with any animated ones on my list. Let's see. Closest thing to animation.
Let me say closest thing.
The closest thing to animation. I want to go with Fresh Prince. Okay.
Oh, yes.
Which of course started in
They
1990.
do have animation in the opening credits.
They do. They do. The graffiti. Yeah, Fresh Prince 1990 ran for 6 seasons. And to summarize why this made the list, we basically say that daddy issues and a fish out of water story has themes in the show that that are basically still relevant to this day.
Yeah.
What plagued not just the African American community, but socioeconomic status,
Right.
regardless.
Right.
Back in the 90s still carries through into today. So, I mean, and growing up without a father, naturally, I, was right on that show as a kid. Loved that show to death. So that was a really easy pick for me.
Right.
Prince Bel-Air.
Right.
And Derek brings us right back around to you. You want to bring us off with your number 2?
Yes. I am going to go with, we already kind of mentioned The Last Airbender.
If you got it.
So I got it too. So go ahead. Do it.
We'll
Do it.
we'll just do them both.
Okay. Yeah. Just like, a journey of finding yourself as a child, learning through extreme life situations, not just normal ones.
Right.
With the most beautiful sprinklings of Uncle Iroh.
Oh my gosh.
Uncle Iroh is the man.
Yep.
Yeah. That show, you're just watching it, such an easy, smooth watch. And then you just get hit with like this message and you're just like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, definitely a kid's show with the responsibility of an adult.
Yes. And if anyone can watch the episode of Uncle Iroh sitting under the tree singing the song to his son and doesn't cry, I don't want to be friends with you.
You're a monster.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're familiar with, I don't know how many episodes you may or may not have listened to. We have a notorious crier here.
Yeah. Hey, I even cried at Uncle Iroh. Okay,
Oh,
that's something you're
thank
supposed
goodness.
to. That's something you're
Well,
supposed
all
to cry at.
Okay, cool. Okay,
You cry at weird things.
I don't like weird things.
I'm just kidding.
Okay. Anyway, but that's a great one, especially Last Airbender.
So, sticking on Last Airbender, you kind of explained a little bit more like the overall show. So my get to the point review was more specifically like season 2, like the whole area and bossing say, kind of, the whole like denial and oppression that was going on with the government. I thought that was, I don't want to say relevant today, but it's pretty close.
It is. It is. I mean, well, the thing is that also the message, like the overall message of what's going on in Bossing.
Like there is no war in Bossing Say. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a great opportunity to bring up with your children how it applies to what governments really do as far as propaganda and just everything else that they do. It's like your information is filtered, history is written by the victors. Keep that in mind as we move forward. It's a great opportunity to definitely bring that up and expand on it so that they get the deeper meaning as they're watching the show too. It's awesome.
Yep.
Oh, is it me?
It is you.
Oh gosh. All right. Well, let's see. We're gonna go with Boy Meets World, 1993.
In this Boy Meets World.
Yeah, which of course went for 7 seasons. And we're talking about an iconic show for 90s kids that provided everything from bromance to makeout techniques.
This is before bromance was a thing.
Before bromance was a thing. Interracial couples, and even some education.
Yeah.
Mr. Feeney.
Well, and like what I liked about the interracial couple thing you mentioned specifically is you said that it took me a second to be like, who?
Sean.
Because no, I know that. I got that. But the point I'm making is the show didn't like spotlight the fact that they're an interracial couple. Like they had a couple episodes where they mentioned
they sidelighted something that would have been controversial.
Right.
Which is interesting. They just kind of snuck it in there.
Right.
But
they
so much it didn't matter.
they normalized it. Yeah. That's what I liked about it. Like it wasn't like, oh, look at this, Sean's crazy for going out with,
Right. Yeah. And it wasn't like it basically wasn't discussed as a controversial topic, but at the time it was.
Yeah,
it sure was. 1993.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Oh no, and it definitely. But I'm just saying, I appreciate that. They made it like it was normal. So
and they didn't play it. You can tell they didn't play it up in the show to be controversial.
Right.
It was a natural character decision.
Yes.
Like Sean's been through a lot, and he's constantly changing. If they showed Boy Meeting World and more so in Sean than they did in Corey. Sean,
I think so too. Yeah,
so
Corey doesn't
changes.
really grow. Like
there were some heavy episodes with Sean.
Corey kind of gets worse over the course of the show.
Yes. Yeah. No, Corey. Because he never grows up.
They kind of like make him like a caricature. I mean, that is a whole different podcast.
A whole different podcast where we talk about characters.
Talking about how shows go so long that their characters become like shells of their original selves.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm looking at you, Scrubs.
I'm looking at you, Scrubs.
But I do love seasons 1 through 3 of Scrubs.
Yeah. So anyone else have Boy Meets World on their list?
I do actually.
Oh,
do you?
I did not.
Okay, we'll go ahead. We'll come right back to you, Derek. Go ahead.
Yeah. All right. So when I get to the point of view on Boy Meets World, also is more of a specific thing, and also had to do with Sean. In a show where half of it's comedy is characters saying other characters' names, we get a well done episode where Sean's father dies of a heart attack. Sean's grief is displayed really believably as he immediately becomes self-destructive, as you would think somebody at that age group would be, especially
very easy
with the life that he has led up to that point. And like he had just made amends with his dad, basically. Right. And oh God, that made me cry.
Yeah, that was before he went to go live with Mr. Turner, wasn't it?
No, that was after. He lived with Turner first, and then Turner got in the accident. I guess he got better, but they wrote him off the show.
Yeah, which was really odd. But, but 90, I think part of that 90s Hollywood drama had that happening a lot.
Yeah.
Where people discovered shows like that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. So, Derek, then you're number 3, right?
Yeah. Hey Arnold.
Oh, I forgot about Hey Arnold. All right.
Like a young kid living with his grandparents in the inner city, just trying to figure out life. And, and I like how they really showed the relationships with him and his friends in the city, like where they would go play baseball,
right.
A lot in between, those buildings, and how they wanted to see the stars. They had to like put all these flyers to try to get people to turn off their lights so they could see that comet. The other episode that it sticks out to me the most out of all of them is the karate one, where Arnold like gets all cocky and confident from his karate skills, and he's like strutting down the street and being overly cocky. And this he turns a corner, or some guy tries to come talk to him or ask him a question, and he like does these karate moves and like slices his belt and his pants fall down. And the guy was like, he was a big guy, and he was like, I just wanted to ask for direction. And he starts crying and walks away. And, and it's like the lesson from Uncle Ben: with great power comes great responsibility. And he learned like a hard lesson that day, about humility. And
right. Yeah.
And just there were a ton of lessons in that show. I been kind of going more broad with mine.
No, but
that's totally fine.
Which is great. I feel like that's definitely how my my first 3 are very broad. And it's in my last 2 that I get more specific just because they're super faves.
I just got into a mode of wanting to be specific. It's
yeah, I love it. So yeah.
That's great. Now we have an excellent variety here with the conversation. This is awesome.
Yeah.
All right. So and Hey Arnold, because that was one. It's so interesting to me that I didn't really think of Nickelodeon shows.
Like Hey Arnold and Doug.
Yes, Doug. See, Doug, I'm rewatching with my kids.
Yeah.
And the deeper meaning, again, that one was so broad. I mean, the whole thing is about him being a dreamer, right?
True.
So like, so much for me that didn't strike as deeper meaning as broader meaning.
Mm-hmm.
It's like oh, that one's obtuse. Like we can see that one.
Right.
It's like,
right.
But like for instance, some of my later ones when we get into those. But I love Hey Arnold. That was an excellent. That was one that I watched religiously. I've seen all the episodes of Hey Arnold.
Awesome.
And so for my next one, more city life, really. Going Frasier, 1993. That's my second 1993 show.
He is trying
Which
to.
went for
I saw your head shake on that, Josh.
Yeah, I mean, no, it's not that like it's bad, but I think it's funny. I feel like he's personally trying to include Frasier in every single episode, which is
not true.
It's fine.
It's the only second time I brought it up. It's the only second time I brought it up. This is the thing. Okay. Now, I want to clarify. Kids shows, because people don't realize Frasier is PG. It is rated PG and not PG-13. Because although that there are sexual references because he's a older, adult male on prowl, despite that, what we've got is an opportunity to introduce your kids to high society, puns, dad jokes, that sort of thing. And like, honestly, so much, I mean, watching with my kids, the stuff like, oh, these are my daddy clothes. I need to go get my come to daddy clothes. That goes completely over their head. They have no idea what he's talking about. You know what I mean? It's the way 90s R&B music where they use code.
Yeah.
So, the euphemisms, they'll watch them. They'll rewatch the show in 15 years and go, I can't believe I watched this with my parents, but I'm so glad I did.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, because my kids request to watch Frasier from time to time now.
They would.
Mine would.
Your progeny would.
My progeny would. Anyone else have Frasier?
No.
I do not.
Not as a kid's show?
Not as a kid's show, no.
Well,
it's a mess of those episodes, though. That's one of my parents' go-tos.
There you go.
Growing up, we'd always just sit and watch the sitcom.
I mean, if we're talking about stuff that was on TV when we were kids that our parents watched, I mean, I could be doing like Law and Order and ER.
Yeah.
Not kids shows. So.
Not kids shows.
No, not kids shows. All right. Derek, how about your number 4, sir?
Yeah. I'm going to go with Rugrats.
Nickelodeon show. We both neglected to think about.
The classic, just team up of kids. You have your leader. You have your fearful kid that, his fear sometimes ends up being the healthy amount of fear that they needed through things. You have the Daredevil twins, the evil cousin, and it's just like adventures. I love adventures. Like going back to Adventure Time, it's a show about being open-minded, just going on an adventure and experiencing what happens. And that's like what the Rugrats did. They'd have a goal for something, and to get something or go somewhere, and they would make an adventure out of it.
Right.
And this imagination, creativity, and I love that. And then I also want to bring up, you guys have probably heard of that interesting conspiracy theory about Angelica. It's pretty dark.
All the kids are made up in her head, right?
Oh.
She has like schizophrenia, and all the kids are like, I remember when I read that, I was just like, oh my gosh.
Right.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah.
That was one of the reasons why SpongeBob almost made my list, because of the conspiracy theories about SpongeBob, which one of them is just, it's not even a conspiracy theory. It's more of just story background on the show.
Oh.
But since we didn't make the list, I'm going to share it. So for those who don't know, SpongeBob, which is the Bikini Atoll, which is what we actually used, the U.S. actually used for military weapons grade testing back in the 40s and 50s. And we lit off a couple of nuclear bombs there, which is why Bikini Bottoms is the town that all of these mutated, deformed, and hyper-radiated beings are living in a town underwater. Mm-hmm. And so, whereas SpongeBob, as a show that I never appreciated, ever, still don't to this day, just because of, it feels vapid to me and just like stupid humor, which I can appreciate. I just didn't like it at the time. It wasn't geared towards me when it came out. That's what it comes
I think
down
I was
to.
past the age.
I was past the age group for sure
when it came out.
But learning about basically why it's a show was really great. I was like, that's
the actual like backstory. Why they?
It's the actual backstory.
No way! I thought that was just like, whoa.
It was confirmed. It was confirmed by the creators. The person who put out the video put it on Twitter. The creators was like, "That's exactly right. That's why I wrote the show."
Interesting.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, so it basically works as a protest to nuclear testing.
So why was Alec Baldwin in the movie?
why wouldn't Alec Baldwin be in the movie? He's a
Alec
nuclear warhead
Baldwin.
waiting to go off.
Not Alec Baldwin. He's the greatest actor in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Is it my turn? I don't even know. Whose
I
turn
think it is your
my
turn.
turn.
It is
okay,
your turn.
I've gone longer over
Number
here.
4.
So my number 4 is 1993 television show Sonic the Hedgehog, not The Adventures of Sonic with the robot chicken and the drill guy, but Sonic the Hedgehog, about the dystopian future with the group of freedom fighters led by Sonic to go against the tyrant Dr. Robotnik. Right?
I don't think
You know
I've
what I'm
seen
talking
it.
about?
yeah, I remember that one.
Yes. It was a 2 season. It's so amazing. I think it's
Okay, I have to watch
at
it.
least the first season. The second season, like the network made them tone down a lot of the adult stuff, and so like they brought in some weird like cutesy dragon, and it was just weird. But
Okay.
but yeah, so yeah, but literally like the entire world is like falling apart because of Robotnik, enslaving all of these animals and forcing them into basically slave labor by turning them into cyborgs or robots. Right. You even have one of the freedom fighters is like half transformed through the show because she got saved in the middle of the process.
I'm remembering the art style for that.
Yeah.
I'm remembering that character being drawn.
When I was a
Yes.
kid, that was the
That was the stuff. Well, I'll be editing this, I promise.
When I was a kid, I cussed probably more than I do now, though. So I also watched South Park like in 2nd grade. So does that count as a kid's?
You know what? I was watching a lot of things that shouldn't have been when I was a little kid. Thanks, Mom.
Yeah.
Boys in the Hood at like 6 years old.
Mhm.
You know, The Players Club, whatever.
I mean, pretty much
The
every
regular
horror movie
hands
I've ever seen was between the ages of
And
like
all
7 and 10.
All the horror movies, just all the horror movies.
Right.
So my number 4, man. Okay, it's hard for me to decide. You know what? I know every. For number 4, I'm going to go even further back to Growing Pains, 1985, which of course went for 7 seasons, and it dealt with things such as premarital sex, drinking and driving deaths, troubled teens, and this was all approached by a set of parents whose gender roles were very fluid, and the boundaries were kind of muddled, which was in 1985, which was way ahead of the times.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's really cool. And not only that, but growing up essentially without parents, because my mom was growing up when I was growing up.
Yeah.
I had to find my parentage through TVs. So the Seavers were wonderful TV parents for me, and I loved them to death growing up.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, anyone else familiar with Growing Pains?
Oh, I watched Growing Pains all the time when I was like, it wasn't something like, it was like a phase. It was like there were reruns of it, and they would show like 4 at a time.
Yeah.
So there was like one summer where I just like watched through all the Growing Pains, and yeah, I've seen like reruns every once in a while, but it wasn't like Saved by the Bell or something where it was on all the time.
Yeah,
And I watched it before school every morning or whatever. Yeah.
Right, that's how Power Rangers was.
Yeah.
For me, every day after school.
Mhm.
Yep. Okay. Nice. All right. Growing Pains it is. Okay. And Derek, number 5.
yes, I'm going to go with Static Shock.
Yes.
Static
Oh,
Shock.
God, I love that show.
Oh man, nice.
Anything that involves adventure or superpowers or anything, I'm just like, even if it's like not awesome, I'll still like have an affinity towards it,
Right.
Okay, but Static Shock was awesome.
But Static Shock is awesome,
It was
just to be sure.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Just to clarify,
clarify.
that was an awesome one. Yeah.
Yeah. It I mean, it tackled things like the single fathers,
Mhm.
gangs, doing the right thing, like while having the power and ability to do the wrong thing or just satisfying things.
Shaq guest starring.
You what?
Shaq guest starring.
Yeah. Most importantly,
Thanks for plugging that Shaq tag. Now we can tag Shaq in this podcast. Wonderful.
and I mean, they tackled race when Virgil and Richie, Richie's dad. There was that episode where they tackled that, and Richie's dad didn't want Richie to be friends with Virgil, and or just didn't know how to. It was kind of like that classic
Right.
racist dad,
Yeah.
Right.
Classic racist dad.
Classic racist.
Yeah.
Got him. Maybe.
Yeah. And then like Virgil's dad, or was he a police officer or a teacher?
I think talking about racist dads is upsetting your dogs.
It's okay, bub. It's okay. We're done talking about that. But and I mean, just the animation and the colors and and how that just fit the story so well with the lessons that they did teach. And my dad, I'm pretty sure Virgil's dad. I can't believe I can't remember this right now.
I think he was.
My dad was a police officer, and he was the chief of police in Medford, Oklahoma, and I was in kindergarten there. And we had to move because my brother and I, who was 2 years older than me, were getting picked on by high schoolers when we would walk to daycare after school. And because he had like pulled him over, caught, drinking and driving and just partying and stuff like that. And so getting harassed because of what your father did, and then they had some stuff like that. And just a lot of relatable things in these shows, So that had a lot of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I dealt with bullies a lot in my neighborhood when I was young too. So any show that had something to do with bullying and sticking it to the bullies, those were always like my favorite. The way that if you're a singer, the way that fame makes you feel.
Yeah. Yeah.
Those things, overcoming the bullies. That's awesome.
I was bullied once.
Yeah, I knew it was coming. One time. Never again.
Anyway, so my turn.
Yeah.
My final get to the point review is Saved by the Bell.
Oh, nice.
When you wake up in the morning and anyway. And this kid's comedy about privileged white kids skating through school. We have an episode where the brainiac Jessie can't take the pressure of perfection and turns to like energy pills to give her an edge. She then becomes addicted and freaks out before collapsing into Zach's arms and crying for help. I thought that was a pretty strong message about some of the pressures of being like the honor roll student. I don't like that. Like the next episode, it was just gone. But that's 90s sitcoms for you.
Yeah.
But
yeah, interestingly enough, they did a similar thing in Lizzie McGuire.
Well, of course.
But with diet pills.
Yeah. Yep.
Diet pills about image.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, like I think anyone who watched Saved by the Bell still remembers, and I don't remember much from the show, but I do remember her on the like, I'm a maniac, I'm a, and you're like just shutting down. It's like, oh my gosh. That was a pretty powerful scene.
Yeah, I think I've seen the scene since like originally aired, and when I remember watching it, I was like rewatching it. I was surprised at because any other sitcom, it wouldn't have been done very well.
Right.
You know what I mean? It would have been like, it would have looked ridiculous, but this felt like, she was auditioning for Flashdance.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Basically. So yeah, I get what you mean. That's awesome. Yeah, Saved by the Bell, and that one, I don't know why. For me, that one, the deeper meaning parts of it didn't occur to me for my list. I just think of it as a great, or a cheesy, fun show from the 90s that I enjoyed.
Right.
It basically became a guilty pleasure when I tried to rewatch most of it.
Yeah. I kind of agree. Like if you watch back with it now, it's like so cringy.
Some of it, yeah.
Which is why I was kind of excited when they made the spinoff that's on like Peacock TV or something that I don't have. So,
I know. Yeah.
I can't watch it, but we did a What It Is video on it.
And we'll have to watch it.
Yeah, we'll just have to watch it.
We'll have to get a group Peacock account.
Yeah. Anyone have Peacock?
Yeah. All right. Well, so number 5 on my list, we'll wrap it up with Smart Guy, 1997.
Oh yeah.
That was my jam. I love Smart Guy.
That is still my jam.
Yeah.
Me and the kids have rewatched it probably twice already in the past 2 months. Smart Guy ran for 3 seasons, and it made nerdy cool a whole decade before Big Bang Theory did. The writing, cast chemistry, and single parent issues tackled in this show make for major rewatchability and still hold every bit the same weight today as that did back then.
Right, yeah. Like it wasn't like one of those, it was a product of its time.
No, it wasn't.
Like a lot of 90s, like Saved by the Bell.
Much like Fresh Prince, so many of the issues that they tackled then. And so just to give an example, all right, in Smart Guy, specifically, season 2 was pretty heavy hitting. So in episode 19 of season 2, we had Strangers on the Net, which dealt with pedophilia.
Right, I remember that.
They were lured into a basement to test video games by a guy who's taking videos and pictures of them when they're undressing.
Don't do that.
We also had in episode 14 of season 2 was Stop the Presses, where he essentially shares pictures of his older sister
Yvette,
with the newspaper, which, like, Yvette Henderson is like just for me, I'm not a huge feminist, okay, so I don't know really, but rewatching the show, like, was like model feminism.
Oh,
you know what I mean? As far as super strong-willed female, takes charge of who she is, incredibly intelligent and independent. She didn't have any qualms about having real tough arguments with her father about her future. Right. Like it was. She
also wasn't almost solely interested in finding a boyfriend.
She's almost never. Yeah,
she almost never has a boyfriend in the show.
Right. Anytime that's a plot point, it's because they're trying to teach us something about character. Yeah. Like because they want, it's like, don't judge a book by its cover. Right. Or sometimes, don't pursue fruitless relationships kind of thing. Like really simple stuff. And then when we talk again about chemistry with the cast, holy crap. Marcus Weaver and Omar Gooding.
Yes. Oh my God, I love Omar Gooding Jr.
Those two as friends was amazing.
They are. I laugh every time. The jokes never go. Yeah, they don't. They just don't. They don't wear on you. And I've seen them. I mean, we're talking about not binge watching, but rewatching every available rerun on TV all through my high school years, middle school and high school years.
I watch Smart Guy all the time.
Right, as well as rewatching it with my kids probably 2 or 3 times in the 3 seasons that it has, and still laughing every single time the jokes roll. Right, that is pretty good.
And my son is 1.5 right now, and I'm just like these shows, and there's some anime that I like as well that are like just really kid friendly, that teach such amazing lessons, and I'm just waiting. I've tried putting them on for him now to see if it catches his attention yet. Not yet, but you're going to be binging some shows.
Is your son in the blippy stage at 1.5? What's the addictions right now?
Cars.
Just cars.
Cars, anything and everything. That's on loop. Yep. He loves Coco Melon, Trash Truck. Which, if you've never seen Trash Truck, that's an adorable show.
It is. Yeah, and it's interesting, the animation style too.
Yeah, it's so good. Yeah. Like you would think that type of animation, Josh. Trash Truck is essentially about a little boy named Hank. Yeah. Whose best friends are a trash truck, a bear, a raccoon, and a mouse. Cool. And the way they do the animation for the truck is like so adorable, and their relationship and the adventures they go on and everything. Like, I love the show.
Maybe this makes me like a bad parent, but I never let my kid, like the only like modern television shows, the cartoons he watched with us was like Paw Patrol. Yep. Because I liked that they actually worked together to resolve things. Like that actually was like something that you had to. It wasn't like them staring at the screen and being like, "What's this blue thing?" Which is, I feel, is most children's television today. And then for a while, he watched something that was about a group of monster trucks.
Okay, yeah, I know what you're talking about. That one's like a CGI animation, right?
Yeah, kind of like, yeah.
I'm really impressed by the animation of that show too.
Yeah, that was actually pretty decent.
Considering Barbie puts out a new movie every month, and it still looks like it was made in a 2008 cutscene for PS2.
It looks like a PlayStation video game. Yeah, so so I don't know if it's a bad parent or not. My kid only watches stuff that like Catherine and I watched when we were younger, pretty much.
Oh, nice.
So,
which there's nothing wrong with that.
although right now we are watching Avengers Assemble, which I did not watch initially, so that is something that's newer. It's 2012. So,
And I think that being number 5, that wraps up our list.
that wraps up the list. All right.
And so with that, Derek, thank you so much for joining us. We roll out the red carpet for you. Let our audiences know where they can find you, where they can find your work, where we can follow you at.
Awesome. Thank you. First, thank you guys so much for having me on. This was been amazing. Well, you can find me on Facebook and Instagram under my name, Derek Kunzman, or under Fourth Law Studios. That's where you'll see the content that comes out, projects I work on as an actor or DP or cinematographer. I have a short film called Firelight that it's been in the works for about 3 years, but it's been a self-funded thing. And so you know how it is when you can't really pay someone, it just takes a bit longer.
Yeah.
But that we're like 95% done with that. We just need to get the sound mastered.
Sweet.
Currently writing a Red X fan shorts. Was one of my favorite characters that was only ever in 2 episodes of anything DC, YouTube, Fourth Wall Studios. So I think that's about it.
That the Red X mask over your shoulder.
Yeah.
I got a 3D printer, and so I've been 3D printing the helmet, some armor pieces, the whole suit and stuff. So that's what I'm going to be using for the short.
Awesome. Sweet.
Yeah.
Probably helps a lot in the props department.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, and if you are looking to start a podcast, Buzzsprout is hands down the easiest and best way to launch, promote, and track your podcast. With Buzzsprout, you'll get a great-looking website, audio players you can drop into other websites, detailed analytics, and tools to promote, and more. Following the link in the show notes lets Buzzsprout know that we sent you, get you a $20 Amazon gift card if you sign up for a paid plan, and help support our show. So let's create something great together with Buzzsprout.
And if you did not know, Kelly and I shot a movie a few years back called The Here and Now. Formerly offered on Amazon Prime, it is now exclusively located on the Fourth Wall Players Patreon page, as well as merchandise and behind-the-scenes content. Become a patron today at patreon.com/fourthwallplayers. That's patreon.com/4THWallplayers, all one word.
Right on.
Well, everyone, thank you very much for tuning in, and we will see you 2 weeks from now for our 420 special.
420 special.
I think we can go ahead and assume that one will not be kid friendly. So leave those kids at home.
Yeah.
Get to the point.